Hey, welcome back to Fireside Technique. My name is Jake, and we're going to continue this week the theme that we started last week with Nick Baxter's still life painting workshop. This week we're going to feature an excerpt from a workshop we did with Dan Marshall on plein air watercolor painting. If you are an artist or a tattooer who uses watercolor or would like to start using watercolor, say in building your flash sheets or something like that, if you're doing hand-painted flash, this webinar would be awesome for you, or this digital workshop would be awesome for you. This was 3 days that Dan spent here in Memphis. We did a live workshop. Maybe 6 or 8 people were in the workshop, some on-location painting, some painting right here in the studio, and we learned the principles of successful watercolor painting. In fact, here are a handful of watercolor paintings that I've worked on since the workshop with Dan. I had never touched watercolor in my life before taking this workshop, and I'm putting together some decent watercolors, nothing on the level of Dan or a professional watercolor artist, but at least I understand the principles of it now. So what I did in this episode is I broke apart one of Dan's modules and I made sure to add some really great little nuggets in there that you can plug into a lot of your everyday drawing. It starts with a pencil layout for plein air watercolor painting, which has to be very minimal, but it has to be very accurate. So not a lot of detail in the layout, but what is there is very important and it has to be correct. And he gives some great tips on that. And then we go further into the painting. We learn a little bit about how to create great blends and how to use the bead, which if you get this workshop, you'll see what I mean about using the bead. If you like this, you should definitely pick up the full workshop. Like I said, it was 3 days on location and in the studio. There's a ton of great information in it. And like last week, we're going to mark it down to 29 bucks instead of the 100 bucks or whatever it normally is. And 100% of the revenue that's generated will send directly to Dan Marshall. Fireside's not going to keep any of it. We're trying to do this during this quarantine period, during the COVID crisis, to make sure that the artists who have supported us for so long get a little something back. They're not, I haven't talked to Dan, but I assume he's not teaching workshops, and I know that the plein air convention, which was scheduled for this month or next, has been postponed, and he was scheduled to teach at that. So I'm sure it will help him out. Hopefully it helps you guys out because you get a great deal on a really fantastic workshop that'll help you to grow your skill set, and we're happy because we get to facilitate the deal. So thank you guys, as always, for supporting the Fireside Tattoo Network, and enjoy the episode.
That is more of a house than most of you guys drew for your barn yesterday, which it's simple, but it's accurate. If you had a person here, he would have to be about this big to make sure he could get in that house and utilize it, you know. There's cows that I want to put in here, and again, it's all, I want to bring all of our center of interest over here. I don't want to put a cow over here because just having this here, it's pulling your eye back over here, and I want this to be about this sort of mountain house. So I'm thinking this is about a house at the base of the mountain. I have a story about what I want to paint, and holding that in your mind is the most important thing, or else you're just making a picture. Then you can just take it with your camera, and there doesn't need to be anything in there. An easy trick to keeping things in perspective in this kind of distance is, if this is our person in relationship to the house, and we drew a line straight across here that hits the top of his head, every other person that we're looking at in that way should be head height. So if I wanted to put a guy out here working, he would have to be, I'm not gonna, but he would be, you know, if this is the size of his head, and this is his body, his head is at the same height as this head. This guy is just shorter. So as you're looking out, everything stays on that eye line. And this shit blew my mind when I figured it out. So I don't have a ruler, but
if you draw a straight line over to his head, then anything in front of him should hit.
Right.
That.
So you have another guy, right? He's this guy's like, hey, Billy Joe, you gotta get the cows back here. And he's like, he's got his hand up here, and he's saying, do what? Is that what you guys say?
Yeah.
Do what? So that makes perfect sense in a sense of proportion. Now, a cow, again, way back here, you know, the farmer and his cow is going to be about here. You know, with the horse thing, we noticed that the horse's ass was about that guy's shoulders. A cow is a little bit different, but if this guy's here and if he's walking his cow, he's probably, you know, about there-ish, more or less. So if I bring another cow back here, his back should probably be about the same height as that cow's back, okay? So this is how we make sure our proportions and perspectives kind of work. Now how do we draw a cow? Well, here is a cow. Yeah, it could be a cow. But, okay, here's his back leg. We're going to cut this around here. This comes up here. Here's his head. And now we have more of a cow. But we're taking that shape, adding a little bit of a cow head. It comes right into the neck and chest, comes right under. It comes lower under here. It comes up. You know, if he's got a dingus, it's there. You know, we're not doing udders or anything. But essentially, you know, his leg could be kicking out here like he's walking. But that's how I arrange things, and that's how we start to approach the design of the painting. Because all of this painting isn't about cows. It's about the ranch house that has cows, that everything is working over here to support the mood of whatever is going on at this house. I put a little bit of smoke coming out of the chimney here, so we'll probably do that over here. So what I'm going to do, though, and now this is where everything else here becomes design involved. I'd probably keep this guy in here. He's fun. I'm going to get rid of his brother, uncle.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But
this is Montana, right? This isn't.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You can make fun of Montana.
We're going to tuck his, we'll tuck his pants into his boots, and then he's from
Colorado, wherever we are. Yeah.
Get me killed. Okay. So we're going to add just a couple more cow shapes. There'll be some back over here. Maybe there'll be one over there, but what we want to avoid is
Cow heavy.
like these guys are too, we want to create rhythm, and if you look at like symphonies that are written against the mountains, it's the same kind of thing. You can't have cow, 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 cow. You want cow, 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 cow. So it's, you want to think of that kind of like, I don't know, I'm not a music guy, but
Yeah.
I have a harmonica.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so I'm going to get rid of this guy because he was wrong, and I'll leave this. This guy. These guys are over here. Bessie's pretty chubby here. He'll be here. This guy will be over here, and maybe I'll bring a guy back there. And that'll be enough. Okay. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why he's walking this cow, but whatever. His leg, like, I'm not worried about like the. Oh wait, there's his crotch. Here's his leg. Here's his boots. Here's his pockets. Here's his zipper. Here's his eyeball. Here's his. You just don't need that much information. But the information that is here, you do need. You need to know how tall he is, where his shoulders are, if he's leaning this way. And same. If he's leaning this way, his hips are this way, and that creates a little bit of a off-kilter notion. That's the drawing, okay?
Sweet.
That's it. It keeps you on track. It keeps you from getting confused and lost. And, you start falling in love with painting this mountain, and you'll end up overworking it and totally pulling your center of interest away from what you were thinking of. So first things first, I've picked up pretty much every brush that I know I'm going to need, okay? So I don't have to worry about it later. I don't have to go, where's that brush? Or do I want to use this brush, or this brush? Would you rather do something bright or muted? Anybody care?
I'd like to see you do something bright because I've seen so much muted. I haven't seen a bright one that doesn't look kind of cartoony yet.
Okay. Okay.
If everyone else is cool.
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do clouds kind of in the way that we did yesterday. Anyway, you just watch. I'm going to... I'll say stuff that needs to be said, but what I'm going to create first is some broken soft edges, okay? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that. Okay? And this is just laying down some water to create some edges that are going to drip into each other and some stuff that's going to be kind of a staccato kind of edge, okay? So I'm going to grab some of this blue. And then I also want to direct things. So I'm going to put blue, you know, I'm designing the sky now. So I want that there for sure. I want this to, I'm thinking I want a lead in here, okay? So I'm following some design things of what I think needs to happen. Have that coming over there. And it's really random, you know, it's kind of haphazard, but I'm thinking, which is, now this, I'm just bringing water now. And I'm going to come in there. Okay. Now, I want to clean up some of these clouds. Okay, these big blobs here are going to cause us nightmares. I've got this bead down here. It's not going to do anything till I get there. Okay, so I can take the time. I can pick these guys out. I can brush off my brush. I can push up in there and create. I can shoot light out of there. I could shoot light out of there. I can pick up these dark beads. And I like it. That's cool. I'm not going to put any... maybe I will. Sorry. I am going to put a little bit of an undershadow. So I'm just making kind of a gray. Lights on top. Shadows are on the bottom. I'll bring some of that there. This should hit some soft, you know, some wet spots still. This will come under here. But this is fun because it's kind of random, you know. Do some of that. Now I'm going to bring straight water and just soften up some of these edges. But I've got time. I'm not worried about what's happening down here because that bead is doing its job. And soften up some of this. And I'm taking my time and modeling my clouds the way I think they should look. Go ahead and put some here. Okay. So there's my clouds. I kind of have this. I have this, you know, I want to have somewhat of a dynamic kind of feeling, okay? So now I'm going to just continue down from my bead here. I'm going to cut around the roof of my house. And as you come down here, you see that I'm sort of like dry brushing this edge. I don't need to make a straight line. Now I'm switching brushes. I need to get in here. I still want to continue that tone through this bottom part of the house, not through the roof, but just kind of through there. And I am going to, okay, this is almost dry. So I've almost missed my opportunity to put in this distant mountain So I'm going to do that. And same way we softened these top edges of the clouds. This, to drop in this really distant thing, I waited a little bit too long. So I am going to just add a little bit of clean water. And you can see I'm just sort of softening the top. It's just going to suggest some sort of thing back there. I'll make it a little bit more purple. There we go. Okay. And I'm just coming down to the horizon here. Okay. Whatever. Okay. So that's essentially our first wash. It's the same as if we were doing a straight wash all the way down to the horizon, but we've done some detail stuff. If that gets too crazy, just don't do it. Just do a flat wash behind there. The point is, go over everything all the way to the horizon line except for the white roof of the house. We want to keep that. That's catching all the light. If we've got, especially if we've got these brights on top of the clouds, we need to have these brights on top of the roof. Okay. Okay. So next step is now this foreground, and I want to create this sense of distance. Okay. The same way all this is here, everything is leading in there. We need to have dark that leads into light. So I also don't want this to drip down into my thing. So I'm going to put a sparkle through here and leave this really bright section that's catching all the light at the base of this mountain. Okay. So I'm going to start with some yellow ochre and some burnt umber. I'm going to add a touch of green. A touch. You can see this color here. This is not a ton of green in there. This is not some weird cartoony green. Mm-hmm. It's a weird cartoony yellow. Okay. I'm putting a touch of blue in there. The blue is going to be reflected from the sky. So, okay, this will work. I'm going to do a test over there. It looks a little bit darker than what I want. I'm going to add a little bit more water and a little more warmth. It was a little bit too cool. So I'm going to grab my warms, my burnt sienna, a little bit of cadmium orange, a little bit of cadmium red. Okay. I'm going to do another little test. Okay, that's better. So I'm going to come across. I'm going to just go right over all this stuff. But I'm not going over it solid. I'm leaving, there's all kinds of little highlights in there that I can exploit later. Okay. Now, the same way when I was showing you like that dry brushing, then I kind of come in and connect. I'm going to now come in here. I'll go right underneath the cows and the people, and I can connect into that dry brush, but now I'm going to start forming my bead. And what I'm doing here with this, I'm getting this off of my brush and on. It's the same as if I was doing this, okay? I'm just building up my bead here, okay? So this sparkle is going to be at the base of the mountain. I need to keep a highlight in there that draws interest to my point of interest. I guess draws interest to my point of interest.
Makes sense.
Okay, went straight across there. Now we talked about if we've got this busy background sky, I don't want to compete with that with a busy background foreground. So I'm going to try and do this thick and dark enough to where it's just one and done. I don't want to have to glaze over this again. So I'm mixing up quite thicker. I'm going to get much warmer. I'm going to actually add some red into this green, and you get this really nice kind of color. And I'm gonna actually go above where the bead is this time, and just do that. Okay, and you see it just starts to, it blends right in there. I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm gonna add just a little bit of purple to my green, which is, you know, you're adding your complement. You're adding purple. It's gonna gray it out. Okay, And that's now my foreground. I'm going to leave these little white bits. I'm going to get rid of these here. But there's a couple little things in there I'm going to leave. I've got this warm strip across the top, but it blends perfectly into this. It's not a strip of warm and then I stop and it's a strip of anything else. So now this is the same as our washes. We have dry all the way down to wet here, okay? You can see this collecting down here. I don't need this here. I need to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of it like this. And now I'm going to take a different brush. I'm going to get some thick brown and some thick green and some thick red and just make this sort of muddy. This is definitely cream here. And while this is wet, I know there's going to be a fence post here, so I'm going to just kind of drop a little bit of a directioning thing in there. Just kind of drop a little bit in there. Maybe I'll do a little bit of this just because it's fun. But I don't want to get a super busy texture going. I'm just going to drop a little bit of interest, and this stuff has to be thick that you drop in there. These little white highlights, I'm going to put a little dot. Maybe it's a, it's a rock. I don't know, whatever. But this makes more of a. The cows have been out here. They've been chewing this grass down. It's smoother. Okay.
Some patties.
Some cow patties.
Yeah.
Drop some cow patties.
Yeah.
But also, since we've decided to go with this kind of a sky, it's bright. There's shadows on the clouds. We're going to get some nice shadows from our man and cows here. So I'm not going to get too crazy in here. That's enough. Okay. But these textures, again, we're going to have fence posts here, but this base, this just sort of creates a little design of going into here. This creates just a little bit of dark cutting it in. So it's just, it's, I could do more dark over here, and it just even doing that closes that up, and it creates more light and intention over here. I don't like that. So that is our first wash.